Hi, welcome to Superkickin with Steven, your favorite host right here, Steven A. 1181. That's Steven A. 1181. Just wait for Greg to hop in soon. I see Big Ben is in the chat already there. We're here, Big Ben. Sorry for the lateness. Had a couple things, had to keep us behind, but we are here now, ready to rock and or roll. So we are live, live, live. I did forget to do our, of course, intro. So let's do the intro while we wait for Greg to show up right now. Alrighty, welcome to Superkickin with Steven A. 1181 right here. Hey, you get two intros for the price of one. Greg just let me know he is en route. Hopefully he gets home soon. He had traffic issues on the way, so we'll give him a few minutes to kind of get that. Big Ben is in the chat as always. Thank you for joining us, Big Ben. Anyone else who wants to join can feel free to join in as well. I think it's interesting. Some of the stuff we have to talk about. I think I'll start here. Let's talk about this match with Andrade, and we can kind of get Greg's thoughts as well. So this is going to be either Andrade loses, he leaves AEW, and then if Dark Order's 10 loses, he loses his mask. I think the writing is on the wall. Andrade's gone. He will probably head back to a WWE at some point. I think it's safe to say his AEW run was less than stellar. He was just kind of there for most of it, and it does make a lot of sense now that Triple H is back in charge, and you have Charlotte there with him. It just makes a lot of sense for Andrade to go back, kind of do his thing there, and see what he could do back in WWE. And I think we're going to see that sooner rather than later. We'll probably see Malachi Black as well. It'll be interesting to see if he goes to the Aleister Black name, or will they let him kind of, start something else, maybe some other Black name and kind of get that going. But you know what? I was kind of thinking with Malachi Black, it'd be nice to see him paired with Zelina. We haven't seen her back in, a while. So hopefully she's okay. I was hearing, possibly injury news for her. Just a weird time, to kind of see people bouncing back and forth. Still have no idea what the protocol or what the actual, what the suspensions are for, CM Punk and for the elite guys. And weird that we just haven't seen anything like that, mentioned yet. So, yeah, so we will get Greg's thoughts as well on that. The other big news I know Greg would love to talk about is right here. We're going to get War Games at Survivor Series this year. I like it. There's no doubt Survivor Series has lost its luster in the last few years. This Survivor Series is interesting because this will be the kind of 10-year anniversary of the Shield. So, it's too bad we can't get a little Moxley action happening somehow. But we'll get Roman involved. I'm sure we'll get Seth involved. And Triple H had mentioned this is going to be more storyline driven. So I think that's, good to see, especially when we look at the women's side. You have Damage Control as kind of this, up and coming team. You've had Bianca Belair teaming up with people. I do think, eventually we're going to see Sasha and Naomi back. So I could see them, pairing with Bianca Belair as well. So just a lot of moving pieces, and the idea that Survivor Series, needs to be storyline driven is definitely important. So I'm glad to see that, we're kind of doing a shift. I was hoping NXT would be there too, and we'll still see if NXT holds any part in, this year's Survivor Series. I would like to see them do it. You think with Triple H's, involvement with NXT and Shawn Michaels kind of seemingly to be the head down there as it looks, that would definitely be a good choice to do something like that. So we'll kind of, see what NXT will do as far as, War Games is concerned. We're going to get a men's side and a women's side. That's enough. I think you don't need to do more than that. So there'll be the two rings, connected together with a cage over him. So it'll be kind of cool to see, what they do. Definitely, you look at the bloodline, you add a member that, so far we got Roman, the Usos, Solo, and Sami Zayn. So there's a team right there, probably against somebody like Drew, Kevin Owens, Johnny Gargano, maybe you throw Seth in there just to kind of have some wild card. And you maybe you throw Austin Theory and give him a shot, possibly cashing in as well to see what he could do there. So, so we'll get that here in November. This month, next week, we have Extreme Rules on Saturday. So we'll have to go live, probably Friday night, give you some live take on that, wrap it up the next night. So then we have Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia happening Saturday, November 5th. I believe War Games will be that same month, later that month, and then TLC, and then we're kicking it off to the road to WrestleMania back there in January. So we'll have day one in January. We'll have Royal Rumble. It is no off season, as you know, for us wrestling fans here. So give a few more minutes for Greg to come. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. We'll kind of look real quick. Maybe we'll do a few commercial breaks and get those out of the way while waiting for Greg to show up. So let me give you all the good stuff that we got: Rogue Energy, Elite Performance, and our Rockstar Realtor. Let's just get those going right now and see if Greg will be showing up in the next few minutes.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSPORTS1.com sent you.
Alrighty, so there you go. We got all of our commercial talk all the way. Just kind of holding down the fort while Greg gets his, life in order so he could join us. Let's kind of look at Raw, and then we can kind of play catch up as it is. So Bayley came out, proposed battling Bianca Belair to a ladder match. She's already been tweeting out pictures of her watching old ladder matches. I still want to give the title to Bayley. I know I'm a Bayley homer. I love me some Bayley. On the list of girls to meet, women to meet, but I think it just makes a lot of sense if you're building up Damage Control as this, unstoppable force. You got to give that title to Bayley. So, her winning it in a ladder match, I think would be good because, if you want Bianca Belair to still be protected, you could do that as well. So I would like to see her do that. Bianca Belair did defeat Io Sky in a match, and really well done match there. But Bianca Belair and Bayley, I'm really looking forward to that Extreme Rules match. The match at Extreme Rules, sorry. The actual Extreme Rules match will be Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Another side that, is interesting to kind of see where things will go with that. Can Liv Morgan become 3-0 against Ronda Rousey? But yes, going back to Bayley, going back to Bianca Belair, this is just a solid feud right here. We know it has history, and I love Bianca Belair as well, but I think the time is right. Give the title to Bayley, let her kind of hold it for some time being. Right now, we always kind of know where the men's side, it seems like, where it's going for as far as WrestleMania. But looking ahead, I mean, Bianca Belair's main event of WrestleMania. Does Bayley get that shot next year? She's still kind of waiting on that as that last, one of those last feathers in the cap that she has. So I'd really like to see Bayley get that title. Seth Rollins defeated Rey Mysterio. The big news here is we're going to get, the Fight Pit match with Daniel Cormier, UFC guy, MMA guy. I don't know if he's been battling much, but there's always been talk. His name's been that one that you just keep hearing will go into WWE at some point, and now it looks like maybe the timing's right. Kind of give him this feel. Does something him and Seth, kind of mix up. I would think that's probably where you go, and then maybe next month in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Maybe we get Daniel Cormier and Seth Rollins battling it out. So, also we did have the first time ever teaming up of Kevin Owens and Johnny Gargano, Panda Express they've called themselves, but they defeated Alpha Academy, and then they got to team up again on SmackDown with Drew McIntyre. So kind of cool to see those two guys teaming up. And does Johnny Gargano still end up with that briefcase somehow? I don't know if he does, but it seems like there's definitely the tease there. So you got to wonder what's the whole, what's the drive behind that. We also saw Almost defeat two athletes, whatever. I don't know what we're doing with Almost. I don't think anybody knows what we're doing with Almost. I mean, it seems like he might be better suited going to NXT and just kind of being a big man down there. And I just don't know where we're going with him. So Candice LeRae made her return. Big debut, re-debut there on Raw. Now her and Gargano will be there on Raw. The baby Quill, we'll get to watch mommy and daddy fight, which is awesome to see. But Candice LeRae back in action against Nikki Ash. The bigger story is Nikki Ash, throwing off the mask. Are we finally getting that whole, Nikki crazy, Nikki Sanity, Nikki Cross type back, which is probably long needed. So we also saw Sami Zayn defeat AJ Styles. Who would have predicted, Sami Zayn would be beating AJ Styles, but the bloodline is working for AJ, or for, is working for Sami Zayn. I mean, we keep saying it. When that time comes that he gets kicked out, he could be one of the biggest baby faces right now. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where we go with that and, where things are going. But finally, we did have Matt Riddle defeat Damian Priest. And then we also saw Edge come back. Edge challenged Finn Balor to an I Quit match, which, do we finally see Finn pick up? Even I think a win for Finn over Edge is probably bigger than him winning that Universal title, especially in an I Quit match, which probably means that Finn's going to lose. But does this maybe bring back the demon persona to kind of take out Edge down the road? I think that's where we're going with that. But that was the one side of the tale. Then also, so we saw Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins fighting each other off air, as the Raw went off the air. So I think we're going to get the whole, I think I saw a preview said no contact clause, which probably is for Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. So then that way, they can't touch each other or their match is off. Or it's one of those good ploys just to kind of get that little fuel to fire for the match. So, so that was kind of Raw in a nutshell. like I said, we'll kind of catch up with Greg as he gets on here and see where he wants to go with things. I wanted to really get his thoughts on NXT because we've been seeing now, Ela, we've been seeing JD McDonough, we've seen Tyler Bates, just the immersion of NXT UK guys right to the title picture. And I wanted to pick his brain to see if it's working. I'm kind of mixed on it. I think you'd rather go the, kind of build them up route. Especially, somebody like Ela who hasn't, Dragunov, who hasn't been on TV in a while. And, it's also another way, though, you're showing how important these guys are, that they're already getting title shots and already positioning themselves in that title picture. So kind of same thing with Alba Fire. And, it's time now for her to take the title off Mandy Rose because Mandy Rose is definitely reaching the top 5 of NXT title runs for women's side of things. And, is toxic. I do think Toxic Attraction is ready for the main roster. Especially like I said, you got Damage Control there. You have Bianca teaming up with 2 people at times. You got Raquel and Shotzi kind of teaming up. I mean, you got plenty of women to kind of go at it, with Toxic Attraction. So, Tony D'Angelo, rough spot there. Haven't seen any injury update. I wanted to, I was kind of see right now. I'll talk to my producer in my ear and see if he has any information on Tony D'Angelo. Haven't really seen if he's hurt, but it did look like he went down hard, and you got to wonder, where's that going? So, he was on such a roll, with his family, with the 2 stacks being gone and all this, and now he takes rough injury. Wesley, you could tell he was kind of up, a little disappointed in the way it ended, but also I think a little frustrated with how it happened, and partly his fault, the way he kind of tossed him in the corner. So hopefully this is just a short-term injury for Tony D'Angelo, so he can kind of pick up back where he is. So Sol Ruka, the newest debut, not a lot there. I didn't really see much, but she defeated Amari Miller, so we'll go there. Joe Gacy defeated Cameron Grimes. We're still waiting on what is Cameron Grimes going to do. I think ultimately you do just got to pull the trigger, and Cameron Grimes joins him somehow, by hook or crook. So Nikita Lyons defeated Kaden Carter. We're kind of building up still Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark as the next challengers, it looks like, for Kaden and KC. Not really excited about that, but whatever. Dragunov did defeat Zion Quinn. Talk about momentum gone. I thought Zion Quinn had a lot of it. Now he's just kind of there, and maybe just lose him when he needs to. So, or just lose him a lot. There it is. So, yeah. Brutus Creed defeated David Kemp via disqualification. There was a chair shot. Who would have thought, Damon Kemp would be the guy to turn? But I do think that means Roderick Strong is written out soon, and now let Damon Kemp kind of build his own brand. So, and then Briggs and Jensen defeated Gallus in a pub rule match. The big story here was Gallus getting arrested, which makes you wonder maybe if there's still kind of, some work visa issues there with Gallus guys. Are they full-time performers here in the U.S., still getting their, everything on that side together. But usually when you do an arrest angle and say you're going to be suspended, definitely, there's a little bit of work there that needs to be done. Hopefully nothing, so no suspensions or anything like that, but just trying to get all the backside work done on the tail end of things. So, what's next? How about some SmackDown stuff? Once again, Sami Zayn picking up wins. Him and Solo defeated Ricochet, Madcap Moss. We did start with Drew and Austin Theory, Drew McIntyre and Austin Theory. That was in DQ, which led to, Drew getting the help from Gargano and Owens to defeat Alpha Academy in Theory in the main event. So we got that done. We also had, Ronda Rousey show that she's ready for Liv Morgan. And, that, like I said, that is such a interesting match because Liv is 2-0 against Ronda Rousey. Who would have thought, Liv Morgan would be 2-0 against Ronda Rousey? But here we are, and, can she go for the trifecta and sweep Ronda and then, see where she's at next? But I think you got to keep the momentum going for Liv, finally have her get out of this, underdog moniker. And I think the bigger story is Shayna and Ronda somehow forming together because I definitely think you got to go that route somehow. So, and then also we saw Bayley defeat Shotzi. We saw, a good brawl between Sheamus and Gunther and Imperium. We're going to get Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes against Imperium at Extreme Rules. I forget if they've announced any sort of, any stipulation to this, bar fight or something like that. But it's going to be, a good fight to see between these guys. And I just say let them keep going at it. So I do want to leave the other big piece of news because this is all for Greg about Max Dupree and where things are going for him. But yeah, we'll definitely have to let Greg hop on and get to that news right there. So I believe I messed up the commercial for Elite Performance. Let me give you that real quick. And let me check in with Greg on the other side and see if he's showing up here as I'm just rolling right through this stuff. And we'll get him on here as soon as we can. See what we got. He is coming in hot. Good. Just give Greg a second and we'll kind of jump back to everything and get Greg's news and notes caught up as well. And yeah, we'll just give you a nice little recap of everything that we've just talked about because that's what we like to do here on Superkickin with Steven. So yeah, let's get him a minute to get on here. And if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to throw them in the chat as I'm biding my time and getting things ready for Greg's main appearance here. I feel like I should give him some intro music or something, but let's see what he's got as soon as he hops on here. And yeah, so what else we got? What else? News, notes, stuff. Ken Shamrock was going to be the fight pit. He wanted to get in the fight pit. Guest referee game, but we are not going to get him in the guest referee game. So we got Daniel Cormier, to do that instead. I wonder if we would have liked to see, there he is. Okay. I'm done rambling because Greg's on live. Whew, I was losing it there. What's up?
Oh, man.
You're here.
Running, man.
sorry you're late, but you're here and you're
yes, sir.
Live. There was a car wreck or accident, of course.
Yep, wreck on the way home, of course. Anytime you need to be somewhere, something's always going to happen.
Like catching all the red lights.
Exactly.
So.
And then there's the aftermath of Ian coming through, and
oh yeah,
you can imagine what the airport looked like. So that to deal with, and
now,
but I'm here, made it.
Did it affect you guys in Charlotte, like in North Carolina? Was that just a lot of rain there?
Oh, here in Charlotte, it wasn't bad. It was just a lot of rain and wind. A few trees fell down, but
okay,
we missed it pretty much.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know if how it affected the weather up there. But yeah, Fort Myers and Sanibel Island they're no longer.
They're gone.
I mean, if you look at some pictures of Fort Myers, I mean, there's a big pier that was there, it's completely washed away. And of course, Fort Myers is one of the big spring break destinations, summer. I mean, so it'll be rough going for them to try to get back to that. So, but Greg, we'll just kind of catch up, play recap real quick. War Games is at Survivor Series, and I kind of mentioned I'd like to see NXT involved. Do you think we get NXT, and how excited are you for War Games to be a major part, an actual part of Survivor Series?
Well, I hated on the War Games concept because I thought it was being wasted in NXT. I love War Games. I saw the first War Games when it was property of NWA.
Yeah.
And it passed on to WCW, and we had the Four Horsemen in War Games every year against, insert good guys here. And it was always awesome, and they were always bangers. And so I thought, hoped that would die with the WCW NWA era.
Mm-hmm.
And see, NXT brought it back. I was lukewarm about it, but after seeing those matches, Undisputed Era in the first couple of them against the random good guys here, and they turned out to be really fun. And then I think the third one was Pat McAfee's crew against Assembled good guys, and it still ended up being bangers. So they did it justice. So we'll say that. And then they included the women in it. So I loved it, the way they presented it, the way they pulled it off. And now to see it on the main roster, they're giving us something that we haven't seen on the main roster, which is something that I didn't think we'd be able to say anymore, because we've pretty much seen everything.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen War Games on a WWE or premium live event ever.
Yeah.
So excited about that, especially thinking of the people you can put in it, the rivalries that would be great in there. Absolutely.
There's 5 guys right there. I was mentioning, a faction of like Drew, Gargano, Owens. I almost want to throw Seth as like a wild card, and then whoever else you got. But because Survivor Series will be the 10th anniversary of the Shield, so you can have a little Shield mix up there, Greg.
True. Seth going in on the face side doesn't quite make sense, but you do the
Roman.
True. So you're doing the enemy of my enemy business, but so I wouldn't hate on it. He's adds that star quality to the match. So having him, KO, Gargano, Drew, you got a formidable 5 to go against the Bloodline, and since their titles aren't on the line, then the outcome is up to speculation. So you could have the Bloodline lose and nobody gets affected. So you just get an epic match.
Or Theory, Theory could be the wild card as well.
Right.
You have Theory try to cash in the middle of it, and then we get that out of the way. So, and then the women's side, you got obviously Damage Control. There's already 3 right there. So it'll be interesting to kind of see who they form. Do we think NXT gets any involvement with this then? It sounds like no.
I doubt it. I think
maybe
this time, maybe next year as we integrate NXT more into the main roster.
Yeah.
But will they get their own standalone match? Definitely not. A couple characters in there, a couple players, possibly. I wouldn't hate seeing Carmelo Hayes in War Games.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hate seeing Tony D'Angelo and his gimmick in there. Seeing Braun in there. Seeing, there's a handful of good players down there that you'd love to see in a War Games match. So
just expose them to the main roster for a night too.
Yeah.
If you want to do that. So. The other big news, Greg, was Andrade is in a loser leaves AEW. So if he loses, he was out of AEW. So I think it's pretty safe to say he's leaving. I don't think there's any. He even has free. Andrade like as his hashtag now. So
really?
he's going back. He's got to go back, with his mommy, his mammy, Charlotte, and fake Papa H. So because the other side is Dark Order's 10 would lose his mask. And it doesn't really matter if, Dark Order doesn't really matter if he loses his mask because he's not like a Hispanic wrestler and he just got the mask because that's what they gave him. So I think it's all about Andrade losing and heading off and, going back to WWE at some point. But Greg, so what would we say? Like I said, I assume his run is done in AEW. What do we rate it? Because I think it was, man. I mean, I don't remember anything he really did other than, put on some good matches. I never felt like he got the direction he needed to go with it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm definitely going to rate it just incomplete.
Incomplete.
Yeah, because it has so much potential to do better, do more. I thought maybe with getting his faction together, La Faction and Gobernables, I need to get Excalibur to pronounce it for me because he loves saying it 10 times every match.
Oh, yeah.
With Roosh and Roosh's brother, it looks like he had something, but the whole thing with him being, the money man and just buying talent and all this stuff, it was a waste. He should have been doing, singles matches and raising his level, his star power, and they wasted him with this whole thing with the assistant.
There's a lot of stop and go with him too. It felt like, he'd be gone from now. Granted, he got married, went on honeymoon, but there was other times it felt like he was off TV for a few weeks with no reasoning. And Roosh kind of outshowed him at times, right? I mean, Roosh
absolutely
looks a lot better in the ring, looks more comfortable in the ring, and now he's AEW official. So, like you said, I think the incomplete and all that is probably a great rating, but I think it's safe to assume he's out the door. So, some Raw stuff, Greg. Was there anything kind of major that caught your eye? Candice LeRae being back is awesome. Are you looking forward to Bayley and Bianca in the ladder match? I think the time is now to give Bayley the title if you want Damage Control to truly be the team that we think they should be.
Yeah, somebody needs to have titles. And if the Dakota and Neo aren't going to get the tag team titles, then Bayley needs to be the champ. So a ladder match is this is the way Bianca can lose without really, getting their shoulders pinned.
Protected, yeah.
Yeah, and she'll get to continue the rivalry and get a rematch or whatever. And it's time for Bayley to get it. So as much as we love Bianca, it's time for a change of scenery for a minute, just to see what it'd be like. Flip the roles and have Bianca in the chase position, and Bayley doing the underhanded tricks, and because she's going to help raise Bianca even more. So Bianca's already a made woman, but Bayley's going to make her even more. So looking forward to that. I enjoyed seeing Candice debut, so that's going to be awesome. And
Nikki throwing the masks down. It looks like it's finally either she's gone completely or she's going to go back to her kind of original. Do you think maybe a return to NXT is more in order for her, or does she kind of come back as Nikki Cross on the main roster?
I'm going to say she comes back as Nikki Cross because she needs something to make us forget Nikki ASH.
Yeah.
And something completely in the other direction. Goody superhero who became baddie superhero, and it still sucked. So we need something to just take the taste of that all out of our mouths. So, how much I love Sanity Nikki. I'd love to have Sanity Nikki back. But just Nikki Cross and, her manic side would be, good enough of a departure to make us forget all that. But I wouldn't say no to an NXT run either, because
it almost feels like it's headed that way.
Yeah, given the girls that are down in NXT, she would hit the ground running and be that explosion of flavor that we need because
Veteran presence too.
right.
Yeah. Then the other big stuff. Well, and don't forget, Damage Control does have the titles, tag team titles. That's why I think Bailey, because they beat.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They beat like a week later or 2 weeks later. So, anyways, that's why I think giving Bailey the title would be awesome. But let's go to Seth and Matt Riddle, Greg. Daniel Cormier.
Cormier.
So give us that hot take because I know he's UFC MMA guy. I've always heard his name rumored to come to WWE, and now it looks like the writing is there. So
yeah, I just saw a little blurb about it this morning. I did not know it, but
it was just announced like in the middle of yesterday night. Like it wasn't even it was a weird timing. Like it was like 6 or 7 by Ariel Hawani, who's the big MMA guy, and I'm like, that's a weird time to drop. Who's going to be the guest fight pit? I'm kind of thinking we'll get him and Seth at Crown Jewel, just to kind of give him that. First fight, and what better guy, Greg, than to go against is Seth Rollins. Just feels like there's got to be something there why he's inserted there.
Yeah, I hope it's not in Crown Jewel because that's in Saudi Arabia, and DC's a kid who's a made man here in the U.S. As global as the UFC is, his biggest cards were done here in the United States, so. That's where his name recognition comes in, and in Saudi Arabia, it's going to be a waste. So I hope that's not where it is, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. As far as Daniel Cormier goes, I love the guy. He is a NCAA wrestling champion at Oklahoma State. Then he went to the UFC. He won the UFC championship in the light heavyweight division, which is a maximum of 205 pounds, and the heavyweight division, which is 205 and up. Okay. So, and at one point he held the championship in both weight classes at the same time. He's double champ. So, he and John Jones.
Is he like 205, 210?
He's a natural heavyweight. So he had to do some work to get down to 205. But
I was gonna say he doesn't look like a smaller guy. That's what I was wondering what he was all about.
Yeah, he's a big dude, and but the guy is Olympic level. He was an Olympic wrestler.
Okay.
So he did wrestle in the Olympics. He did win an NCAA championship, and he was double champ in UFC for a long time. He had this epic rivalry with John Jones, and he was the one person that he could not beat, John Jones. So between him and DC, they passed that light heavyweight championship back and forth a couple times. The reason John Jones lost it was because performance-enhancing drugs. And so he would beat DC, get popped for PEDs, have to vacate the belt, and DC would win the belt back. So that happened twice over. And so DC is a 3-time champ, twice as light heavyweight, and then once as a heavyweight. So dude has credentials out the nose. He has 8 world titles in between all the promotions he's been in. So he's legit. He's a boss. And now he's a UFC commentator on the big cards. He's part of the A team with Joe Rogan.
Okay.
So when they have a big fight card, they bring him in, they bring Rogan in, and John Anik, and they commentate the big cards, the big pay-per-views. So he's still a big name in UFC circles, and having him involved in the fight pit is probably going to pull some UFC eyes over to WWE. But DC is a huge WWE mark, or not pro wrestling. He's an old school pro wrestling fan. He's been following since the territory days, so he knows his stuff, and he loves referencing wrestling in general on his DC and RC podcast. He does a podcast with Ryan Clark, who's a Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have their own MMA show on ESPN now.
Okay.
So, but he loves UFC. He loves pro wrestling and references it all the time. And he's always joked about wanting to be involved with WWE. So Triple H
Here we
must have
go.
heard it, and now he's in the mix. So it's going to be fun to see what they do with him, because he's not just going to be there just to show up. He's going to
Yeah.
throw somebody around. So
That's why I was like, yeah, and I mean, like I said, I feel like it makes the most sense. I mean,
yeah,
I guess him and Riddle could do stuff, right? Because
yeah,
former
absolutely.
UFC guys, but it seems more fitting that Seth somehow would get involved with him just with the way Seth has been positioned this year. So,
Right.
yeah. How about NXT? No 2.0 anymore, Greg. My big question I kind of was throwing out talking about was, do you like the integration of some of the NXT UK guys straight to a title match? Because we've seen JD do it. We saw Ela now doing it. We've seen Tyler Bate doing it. Do you think that it should go? I kind of, it's a little mixed because once you get to that title and you lose, then it's like, what do you do with that? So, how do you like the integration of NXT UK guys overall?
I love it. They need it. They need
Okay.
it so bad. Because we've done the Joe Gacy thing, we've done the Grayson Waller thing, we've done the Tony D'Angelo thing,
Mhm.
and it's those guys aren't ready. We know they're not ready. But bringing over the UK guys and consolidating UK along with the NXT is the smartest thing they could do,
Mhm.
because you got proven guys like Tyler Bate, like JD McDonough, guys who have epic matches.
Yeah.
Even Gunther, before he got moved up, um, he gave us a better quality match than any of the 2.0 guys.
Yeah.
And so bringing the UK guys into the mix, it raises uh, the quality of the matches. It gives us better people to get behind, and they're going to be the foundation of the new black and gold brand. So
Which you can
they may not.
tell in our production, Greg. Look at the slide right there. I went old school.
I love it, love it. That's what they need. I'll need all the little tie dye and the hot colors to just go away, and
Yeah.
black and gold all everywhere. And I think that's going to happen. It's probably going to happen gradually. And I'm kind of paying attention to um, like the arena. I want to call it Full Sail, but they're not in Full Sail. Um, whatever building that they're in, you see
Yeah.
one wall is black and gold, and the other wall has the little color splash.
Yeah.
I think, and eventually it's going to go from one wall to two walls, and two
Yeah.
walls to three walls, and probably each time a wall gets covered, it's going to represent, um, the phases that Triple H wants to change this
Yeah.
back.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mentioned being like, you own a house and you rent out your house. Say you're a Steelers fan, black and gold, and you rent it to a Patriots fan. They paint everything red, white, and blue. And when you come back after they leave, you're like, what in the world happened here? Where's my house? And everything is out of place. You changed everything. This sucks. Now I need to put everything back the way it was, make it right again. And Triple H is going to have a lot of work because he's looking at all these people they brought in. Everybody pretty much emptied the performance center, and all these people who are green and have these stock characters, it's a hot mess that he's been left with. His baby is NXT black and gold. And they even took away the black and gold. So he's having to clean up all this mess, fix all these storylines, take all these stock characters and make them real. And so I think it's going to represent just phases of doing that. So we got one wall painted black again, and I think it's just going to evolve 2, 3, 4, and eventually, maybe 6 months from now, everything's going to be back to black and gold, and the star power is going to be better, the quality is going to be better, the talent's going to be better, uh, but it's going to be a process. It's not going
No.
to happen overnight. So
No.
he's got a lot to fix down there. But bringing in the UK guys is genius because those guys are awesome. Um, everybody from Bate to McDonough to Nathan Frazier,
Mm-hmm.
um, even the Gallus boys, and
Mm-hmm.
they're already way past the ability of the most of the NXT guys right now, the 2.0 guys. So they need that integration to pretty much relaunch NXT and
Oh yeah.
make it back to
Without
as good as it used to be.
and without almost saying it, it's like you're just slowly, like you said, doing little things here and there. Speaking of Gallows, they got arrested, Greg, and were taken
Hmm.
out and they're suspended indefinitely. My take on that is, I'm guessing there's still some work visa issues to work, get all sorted out. I would think, just getting there, they're probably all picking up to leave the UK physically. So I would think we'll see them back, maybe in a few weeks,
Yeah,
getting that all sorted out. Maybe they only had a short. I think sometimes you could sign up for short-term work visas. I,
right.
I
Yeah,
thought so. I'm guessing that's why they did that. Pretty Deadly are good to go though because they're the they're the NXT champions. I think they had some video segment that. Oh my goodness, those guys are. It should be interesting to see if they get up to the main roster. But the other big story though, Greg, was Tony D'Angelo. Looked like he went down with a legit knee injury. And that kind
yeah,
of sucks because, I mean, he'd been one of the highlights of NXT. And you could tell Wesley did not want to win the way he did. And, probably kind of upset at himself for, maybe throwing him the wrong way or just, missing timing something. But I haven't seen anything official on Tony D'Angelo, but it looked like a legit injury. So
yeah,
hopefully that, you know, hopefully not out a long time, but then again, sometimes, Greg, the best thing is to be out and let things recreate themselves. So
right.
Wesley will be in the title or the North American title match. We have the Oro Minash, I think is his name, and
Yeah.
then we have Carmelo Hayes so far. So we'll see who else. What else? Joe Gacy, Cameron Grimes. Are we just dragging this out too much, Greg?
Yeah, they need to do whatever they're going to do with those two, and it's useless. I mean, I see what they're getting at, but nobody cares at this point.
Yeah.
And I think the Joe Gacy gimmick's getting a little old, and it was hot at the beginning, and people were blowing up social media off of the stuff he was saying and all that stuff. But now we're used to it, and it's just jibber jabbers, the Charlie Brown teacher. So
Mhm.
we're kind of tired of it. It's time to switch him up a little bit, do something different, and it's going to be more than just the dyad because um, it's kind of he's kind of NXT's Bray Wyatt, but he's kind of like the dollar store version, and it's not gelling. People aren't into it.
Yeah, it's like this is why I ordered on Amazon, but I got this off Wish. I think it's the millennial version or the Gen A version. But how about Zion Quinn, Greg? He's kind of fallen off the map too, hasn't he?
He is. He's become like the enhancement talent for the next big thing that comes through. So
Yeah. Is that
um,
talent for him or I don't know if that's good. I don't think that's good for him. Is my biggest thing.
yeah, I mean that was another of those guys that wasn't a Triple H guy, and
Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably more Vince McMahon guy.
yeah, so he was one of those that's brought in that after all Triple H's guys were fired or wasted on the main roster. So
Hmm.
Triple H is probably looking at him going, "I got nothing for you," and in the meantime, you're going to get some reps until we figure something out. So
Yeah.
I
And I
think,
guess it's better than writing him off completely.
yeah,
But at the same time, I just feel like he. But guys on the up though, Damon Kemp, who saw, who foresaw him, taking off and breaking up, Diamond Mine and kind of getting the call there, Greg.
yeah, he's got some personality to him. I like his interviews. He sounds real. He sounds legit. And when he speaks, when he cuts a promo, you believe what he's saying, and that's a lot more than you can say for most of the 2.0 guys. So I enjoyed his promos, and he backs it up with his ring work. So I'm a lot more interested in what David Kemp's doing than what Joe Gacy's doing.
Hmm.
So um, and that's the thing, are you believable?
Yeah.
He's much more believable as a college standout wrestler um, who's kind of got overlooked by Roddy and the Creed brothers and playing the jealousy angle and presenting it the way he did. So, it's like, yeah, we see it because we've seen it
Yeah. Hmm.
in all the Dynamite segments. It's like, oh, David, stay behind and just watch and learn and kind of thing. So we've all seen it happening, and now it's come to fruition.
Yep.
And when he cuts that promo, it's like, yeah, we know because we've seen it, and I understand why he's mad. So that's the whole thing. Um, so the Joe Gacy thing, he's just talking nonsense, and we're kind of out on the island to understand what he means because there's no background to go with what he's saying. So that's the huge difference between those two. So I'm into what's going on with David Kemp and those rivalries he's going to have with the Creeds and Roderick Strong whenever he comes back, if he ever comes back, is going to be a lot more fun to follow.
Hmm. And then finally, SmackDown talk, Greg. There's only one thing you want to talk about, right?
Hey,
I put it over there. I put it over there to the side.
You already know.
It already has its own little spot. Look at that.
You already know it's
Yeah.
about to happen. It's about to happen.
You couldn't have done any worse than punch Mansoor in the face to really signify that. Yeah. You might as well just put Vince McMahon, like they should have had Mansoor like in a Vince McMahon mask, right?
Right.
Like Halloween early, but we are going to get LA Knight, I'm guessing, sooner rather than later. And yes, all will be right in Greg's world. But
Yes, sir.
and
I was
also, Shotzi got her tank back. What a night!
absolutely.
Triple H is like, okay, we gotta get things completely right here. So
There you go. He's fixing all the little plot holes, all the things. Shotzi's going to be a baby face. She's got to have the tank. So boom, bring the tank. And not just bring the tank. They brought the tank to Canada. So it's not cheap to bring that thing in. And then we're going to get LA Knight in the ring and on the mic, and everybody's going to love it. I promise you. And I've done so going to go to YouTube and watch the Eli Drake videos because what you're going to see is going to be even better than the Eli Drake stuff. But it is ready. It is time. It is finally going to happen. I am here for it. So let's go. And I didn't get to talk about it last week because I didn't get to come through. But that segment last week, or I believe it's last week, not this past one, with Sammy getting his honorary Oos t-shirt.
yes,
Holy crap, they got me so bad because I think everybody was figuring that, okay, the jig is up and now Sammy's going to take this beat down and that's going to be that. And then they totally swerved this.
it's coming though, Greg. It's coming.
I know, but it was such a moment, though. It was such a moment that, we all felt bad for Sammy that he was about to take this whooping. And Roman just smiles like, take that shirt off. You wear this shirt.
You wonder if Sammy could be the cost of the Bloodline losing that Survivor Series. So you give it about another good 2 months or so, or a month and a half. I feel like that might be the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean the groundwork's laid there because we had the last week's episode with Jay cornering Sammy and going, "You do anything to mess this up, everybody else buys your shtick, but I don't buy it. You're going to cause us, cause something to happen." So Jay's onto it.
Wins. He picked up a win over AJ. He got a win with Solo. So yeah. I mean,
Sammy's a new man with his shirt on.
When you have momentum, we always know that. So,
Sammy
Yeah,
is a new man, and he's been killing it. He's been killing it even more in the ring since he got his honorary Oos T-shirt.
his shirt. He needs a tat.
And
Can we get him? Can we get him a temporary Uso tat? You know they sell
Oos,
the. If you want to do, Greg, I think we should buy the Cody Rhodes tat, and we could put it on our neck
oh my God.
one show. But how about we'll make that? We'll make that the next bet. By the way, did you get your shirt?
I did get the shirt,
Okay, good. I was
and
like, I said that out loud. I'm like, finally, sooner. I think the next bet needs to be the Cody Rhodes tattoo, temporary tattoo. Whoever loses has to wear it on their neck, Greg, for a
oh
show.
man, for a show. Okay.
So
Well,
that would mean I would probably need to do it during a break because I'm afraid I'd be afraid that bad boy might not come off within a day or so. I don't know. Going to school would be great with a big old neck tattoo, even if it's
there we go.
temporary. You know, a lot of my kids at school think, wearing tattoos all over their body is cool. So who knows? But yeah, I
Sure.
think that needs to be the next bet.
Hey, to pick up some street cred with the kids.
What do we have? Do we have the Chargers and Colts playing at some point, right?
Chargers and Colts do play this year. Yes, sir.
There we go. That'll be our bet.
All right, you're on.
I know your Chargers won today. You beat the
Yep.
Texans, so I can only brag for 1 week, Greg, where the Colts, the Jags, and Titans beat the AFC West last week, and now, yeah, my Colts lose, so it didn't really matter.
Now it's flipped.
Yeah.
We beat the AFC, whatever division you guys are in,
South, yeah.
South, and then you guys took the L too.
Isn't it still weird to call the Colts in the AFC South? I mean, can we not get some real? They're working on the Pro Bowl, Greg. Now, can we get some legit realignment and put my Colts like somewhere that makes sense? But anyways, so and then when you get that London team, everything's thrown
boy.
out the window.
I don't want a London team.
I know nobody does, but I don't know. I think that's coming. So, anyways, let's get some. We haven't talked NXT or AEW for a little bit. Jericho's now the Ocho, Greg. Who would have ever thought Chris Jericho would have earned an ROH world title? I mean, he's got championships everywhere, but now he's finally. Then he defeats Bandito. The rumblings were, Greg, that WWE put some, overtones at Bandito, but Bandito is officially AEW as well, so that kind of nips that in the butt. Bud, sorry, I always want to say butt, but it's Bud. But anyways, and by the way, Greg, purple clothes, just never. Women, men, gender fluid, transgender, I don't care who you are, a dog, a cat, purple clothes, just, ugh. It never looks good. It just looks dumb. Or I think of The Godfather. that's the other. I think of Papa Shango, Charles White, The Godfather, and some. So I guess if you're a pimp, you may wear purple. But other than that, purple just. And what did they gave Garcia the purple what do you call that? The Kanga hat. I don't know what those hats are called, but a purple hat of that. So because Garcia is our pure champion for ROH. So what a weird time right now. But thoughts on are we on the Jericho Appreciation Society yet, Greg? With Jericho getting that title?
When shout out to Dan the Man, our fearless leader, when he posted in our group chat with the odds for each match at the Grand Slam, yeah. I was looking at all the odds, and I figured I could make some money off of this thing because I picked all the winners, but the one that I guess number 2 on my for sure list was Claudio beating Jericho. I had no doubt that was going to happen, and just figuring, it's going to be big for Claudio, and raise his level even more, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even fathom Jericho winning it. Um,
I don't know if Jericho
shenanigans
ever
aside,
envisioned himself winning it ever. I mean, think about the heyday of ROH and what people were in there, Greg. And Jericho obviously was a big part of WWE at the time. So I don't think Jericho ever, on a bucket list. So does this mean that maybe there's TV time coming for ROH down the road, or are they trying to position ROH in a better light now with Jericho as the champion there?
well, it makes sense because that's what they did with the AEW title.
Yeah.
Jericho was the biggest name in the company as far as his international fame
Mm-hmm.
and his, legitimacy among like generations and generations of fans. So I know Cody was the next big name, but he was not as big as Jericho, not even close. So
Mm-hmm.
putting it on Jericho, um, when you tell a regular pro wrestling fan that Jericho's the champ, then that
They
sets
can
off the
kind of
light
put
bulb.
that, yeah.
Okay,
If you say
um,
Claudio Castagnoli, they'll be like, who?
exactly. So that catapulted AEW just by putting Jericho as the first champ.
Mhm.
And it's been taken off ever since. So I think they're trying to do the same thing with the Ring of Honor championship. Because, like I said, you tell Claudio's the champion, people are going to be like, who's Claudio?
Mhm.
Or, okay, Cesaro in WWE. Okay, maybe more people wise up to it. But
Yeah.
um, even more than Samoa Joe, even more than um, the past champions, we may know their names, but even I don't know half the people who had
Yeah.
that championship that have come through. And then you mentioned like Adam Cole. You said Banditos had the championship, and talk about a star-making performance. That was an epic match with Jericho and Bandito.
Yep.
But I had never seen a Bandito match before,
Mhm.
so he really, really impressed me. But that's the whole thing. You want a champion that's going to bring the eyeballs to those matches.
Mhm.
Then you can bring in all those AEW or those Ring of Honor guys
Yeah.
that we don't know about. Get them that clout, get them that airtime with a guy that we all know, like Jericho.
Mhm.
And rising tide lifts all ships. So Jericho's the tide. And I think that's the whole purpose of doing it. So I'm in with the Jericho Appreciation Society. I'm in with Jericho being the champ and his whole mission statement now of he's going to desecrate everything Ring of Honor stands for and fight all the champs and beat all the champions. I love it. It's evil heel of him, and I think he's better when he is the heel. And we're going to be able to roll out all those ROH guys and put them in those matches with Jericho and make them household names too.
Yeah.
So I think that's the whole point. And the beautiful ending to it is that probably the last guy before Jericho clears house is going to be the guy who's in his society with Mr. Daniel Garcia. So um, I like the way that it's shaping up. I see what they're trying to do, and I love it. And it's going to be a series of epic matches, the way that the Labors of Jericho were.
Mhm.
Um, even though he's representing the heel side this time instead of the babyface side.
Yeah.
But I think they're all going to be excellent when he just has a roll call of ROH champions
Mhm.
and they throw down.
Yeah. Danielson, speaking of ROH former champion, the longest reigning, I believe, defeated Matt Menard via submission. Cesaro was or Claudio was kind of there and all that. How about MJF and Wheeler Yuta going at it, Greg? Are you excited for this little program? Kind of a brought together feud with MJF pushing down Tony Schiavone and
Mm-hmm.
just throwing straight fire there. We also saw We Are Yuta take out MJF towards the end or towards the next eat part of it where it looked like MJF might cash in or at least hold in his chip, and We Are Yuta has to be escorted out of the skybox because beating him up. So how about the MJF and We Are Yuta stuff going, Greg? How are you liking that?
I like it. It's a little space filler
Yeah.
because Bob Moxley's going to be busy with Hangman next or on Wednesday, and then getting ready for the next pay-per-view. MJF's going to need something to do,
Yeah.
and mixing it up with the BCC is a good place to go. Just like the Moxley match put Yuta into the stratosphere, getting into a rivalry with MJF is going to put him further into the stratosphere because, you know, the most evil heel in the business is back and everybody's in on him.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a banger with MJF, and, you know, look out. You know,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit for this guy. So excited for Yuta because he's just one of a good handful of AEW guys that when I first saw him, I didn't care for if, you know, he was any good or not, and he's just growing on me, and he's gotten better and better. And now you're invested in him emotionally. You want him to win, and they're doing a great job of doing that with their homegrown talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm starting to get excited for Yuta against MJF, even though I'm pretty sure MJF's going to win.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Yuta took a match off MJF. So, you know, you have that investment that you want him to win now. You're not just looking at it, it's okay, this is the MJF win and what's going to happen now. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this match with those two.
Yeah. How about Moxley? So Moxley defeated Juice Robinson, and like you said, we're going to get Moxley and Hangman. The big signing, though, Greg, Saraya, formerly Paige. How are we feeling about her a couple weeks into things, and her getting to announce at a lumberjack match, the first ever women's lumberjack match? I've never cared for. I'll just say it, Greg. Lumberjack matches are dumb. I mean, I get it, but they're one of the, like, to have her be the big spokeswoman for that is kind of a, I don't know, it's like a dud. Like you're expecting her to announce something big, and, you know, the big line, oh, my boss has actually listened to me, and then she announces, oh, it's a whatever we want to, lumberjack match, and I'm like, well, yay. Which Tony Storm did defeat Serena Deeb in that. But what do you think in a couple weeks with Saraya there? And do you think we actually see her wrestle, though? Because there's still no word if she's medically cleared.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wish I'd been able to get in last week on is that, well, first, I think I called it on our end of the year show last year.
Mm-hmm.
That one of my bold predictions for this year is that Paige or Saraya would be back in the ring this year. And so I forgot what context we did it. But it's absolutely, here she is. And I was glad that I didn't see any spoilers about it. And I didn't know anything until I was watching the show, and Britt Baker and her crew were issuing the beatdown and having the music hit in, and okay, whose music is this? And like, okay, somebody's coming out, and then that huge pop when her name flashed across the screen and she came out, and man, it gave me goosebumps. Just thinking about it right now, it's giving me goosebumps. And it was huge because I've loved her from the moment I saw her, and was really sad when, you know, she came out and announced she can't wrestle anymore, and she was taken away from us too soon. She was way too good, and just the way she carried herself, her swag, the anti-diva as they call her, it was perfect. It was the perfect person, the perfect gimmick, and her ring work was outstanding, and I miss seeing her in the ring. So seeing her come out as the big surprise, man, it got me huge. And every time I watched that, her come out and listen to that pop probably a dozen times, every time it just got me. It still gets me just thinking about it. So I'm super excited. She's back. I hope that this means she's going to be back in the ring. And I don't care if it's sooner, but just sometime. Just eventually she'll transition back in the ring. I imagine she wouldn't, you know, want to come in and just a, you know, announcer role or a GM type role or
Oh, yeah,
anything. That
yeah.
she's back. She's going to be getting physical with somebody. So I'm super, super excited. Um, I know that promo she cut this last week with the whole lumberjack thing was, and everything that came before it was kind of womp womp. It was not a good segment, and I think even she admitted that she wasn't proud of it. But hey, first time back, you're gonna have those jitters. You're gonna have to work with all these new women, and you don't have that chemistry with them,
Mhm.
and it's gonna take a minute for it to gel, to get right, and that whole segment was kind of a waste with her return soliloquy in front of the fans. But she'll get better. She's great on the mic, and it was just a bad night at the office, so we'll forget about that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what's going to happen when inevitably she and Britt Baker share the ring together. Who's the face of AEW wrestling, women's wrestling now,
Mhm.
and she can come back and she can wrestle. It's only a matter of time before she has the championship in her hands next year. So, um, yeah, I'm in for it. I'm ready to see, you know, all of it. Especially when her and Britt Baker get in their legit rivalry and start going at each other on the microphone. It's gonna be like Punk and MJF all over again. So, I remember Britt got in a great line about Soraya's neck, or being able to, hold the weight on their shoulders and all that
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
getting a good shot on Soraya on that. But aside from that little quip, that segment was kind of a waste. But
Mhm.
you know, is what it is. We'll move on from that, and it'll get better. So you have to start on the bottom and you know shoot
Work
to
your
the
way
moon.
up.
So
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Well,
So
and
I'm
plus,
here for it. I'm ready.
and even being back, I think that's just good for her. Just like you said, I mean, starting at 7, 8 years old with her family, rolling around in the ring, and I think our first match at 13, and we forget, she hasn't even hit 30 yet. I'm pretty sure. So she's still in that prime of her, wrestling career. So I'm
Yeah,
sure
that's
she's got
crazy.
plenty to give. So kind of finishing up with some Rampage stuff. So Greg, you claimed we're going to have National Scissoring Day on Wednesday. That will probably be the only time, Greg, in the history of my life that I'll be able to say those words, because I doubt if I will ever use those words again. But well deserved. One of those teams that just came out of nowhere, and just took us by surprise with how well, just kind of flying under the radar. I mean, you talk about homegrown talents. We don't talk about them.
Hmm.
I mean, the tag team wise, we always forget about some of these guys. So, yeah. And then what about Lee Moriarty and the firm thing? Is that working for you? And if we forget MJF was the Joker that hired the firm. And
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where it's at. It's not really doing anything for me yet, which of course things take time. I understand, but at the same time, it just doesn't. It just feels like a mismatch of people,
It is, but they're
and
all
that's probably
going
the point.
to. Yeah, they're all going to be mosquitoes, and MJF is the host, so they're all going to get bigger by uh, riding the coattails of MJF. So,
Yeah,
and he's going to have a little henchman squad for since he doesn't have a Wardlow now. So when he gets in trouble, somebody from the firm is going to come down and
yeah,
help him, tilt the odds in his favor. So I get it. Is that group ever going to do anything worthy? No, but it's going to make them recognizable to the rest of us. Nobody cares about Lee Moriarty right now, but
yeah,
same thing could be said about other guys that are like Willie Yuta. We
yeah,
didn't care about him earlier, and now we're a huge fans of him. Nobody cares about Lee Moriarty right now, but 6 months from now, riding off MJF's coattails and getting the extra TV time, those matches, in 6 months, he could be a next big thing. So I think the kind of the same philosophy is being at work right now with these mishmash of guys. You know, if you didn't watch WWE during the Enzo and Cass days, nobody knows who W. Morrissey is because who's watching Impact?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much nobody. So he's going to need that time to get familiar with everybody, get some ring time, and get that exposure. So same thing. 6 months from now, he could be in the title picture, feuding with guys like Wardlow, feuding with the big boys. So he needs that airtime. So I think that's the whole reason that this weird little collection of people are together. Same with the Gun Club, or whatever their names are. And mentioning the Acclaim, they were in the same boat.
Yeah.
6 months ago, they were enhancement talent for the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers and all the other over tag teams, taking L's to everybody. And now look where they are. Fast forward 6 months, they had one of the biggest matches of their careers against Swerve in Our Glory, and that match that they lost leading up to Grand Slam, when they finally got over the hump and they won, and the pop was so amazing. So, they're doing a great job of taking these guys that are marooned on dark and taking all the L's to the big guys, and then raising them slowly up, slowly burning them until they explode. And the only good thing about the Acclaim was listening to the raps and seeing if the raps were going to be good or not. But their ring work got better in the process.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now they're putting on matches on a Young Bucks type of level. So imagine when the Young Bucks and the Acclaim finally get together now. Yeah. So, 6, 7, 8 months ago, it would be over in 3 minutes. But now, they are going to have an epic match, sooner than later, I'm pretty sure. So, like you said, that the homegrown talent is slow burning these guys and then having them earn their stripes. And when they get there, they're huge. So I knew the scissor thing would get over because,
it's just it's a little thing that's easy to do. And you could just go up to somebody like,
exactly.
Hey, scissor me, which,
exactly.
That's horrible, but
and that's kind of the reason it's getting over, because it's an inside joke and people on the outside
yes, and that
right
as well.
Right. We love a good dirty joke, and we love the inside joke, and now it's huge. And they're the scissor me daddy. It's hilarious to listen to, and it gives. Where else are you going to do a chant like that?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It adds to their whole appeal.
Rouge picked up a good win. How about Jamie Hayter though? Like, are we just going to keep her in Britt Baker's shadow forever? Like, she was gone and now she's back with her. Like, when we cut that umbilical cord, Greg, for good, and not bringing it back, not sewing it back on. Like, Britt Baker and Reva, I'm fine if they stay together forever. Because let's face it, Reva ain't doing anything in the ring ever, so it doesn't matter. But Jamie, I don't get it. Like, you had her separate, you had a good pop for her, getting separate from Britt, and now she's right back with her.
Yeah, it's going to happen. And when did the Jamie Hayter love happen? That's the part I've missed. I've seen all the AEW episodes, and all of a sudden people are Jamie Hayter is super over.
Just one of those things. It just kind of happens. It feels like.
Right. That's what's blown me away, is that all of a sudden that everybody loves Jamie Hayter, and I've missed the moment where that happened.
Yeah.
With kind of the Acclaim, you saw it happening. With Wheeler Yuta, you know exactly when it happened.
Yeah.
And now with Jamie Hayter, it's just seemed to happen overnight. It's like, okay, where did everybody fall in love with Jamie Hayter? But now she's hitting that level. So it's going to happen because it has to happen. But now might not be the time yet. We just had Saraya come in. We just had this whole shakeup with Thunder Rosa and everything, and things need to smooth out before Jamie Hayter gets that last push over the top. So I think that they're slow burning her. Same way they did with the claim, same way they did with Yuta. They're slow burning her too, and she's going to explode big when that time comes. And she's probably gonna do it by knocking Britt Baker to next week and get that mega pop. And she's going to be arrived. She's going to be here, and people are going to be here for it. So
I mean,
it's
we
just
did
about picking that moment.
It's almost like I don't know, it was almost a reset for her. Because we blew it up. We hit the match. We did everything they could, and like I said, the people popped for it, and they're like, "Well, we'll go back and try it again later." And I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
whatever." So, I guess in our last call, has the show the couple weeks been better without the Elite, Greg, for AEW? That's a real question, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good question. And I think right now you'd say yes, because how many people do you see clamoring for the Elite to come back?
Yeah.
This show sucked without Kenny. This show sucked without the Bucks.
You don't really see that.
They really haven't missed a beat.
Yeah.
And if anything, that is pointed the spotlight to other people who deserve it. The BCC were already getting plenty of love, and they've raised their game. Jericho and his crew, they've raised their game. We haven't seen even FTR very much. So the smaller tag teams are getting plenty of light. The Acclaimed has exploded. Swerve and Our Glorious, they may not have the belts anymore, but they were having epic matches. So the people who have stepped up in their absence, as they haven't missed out on anything. That they still getting 1 million views every week, million plus.
Yep.
And you can't tell from the numbers that the Elite being gone has affected them at all, because their numbers are going up every week. So they may be doing better just because the shows aren't being dominated by the Elite and being dominated by CM Punk.
By the way, FTR is the mystery, though. They keep touting them as the number one ranked AEW tag team, but they hardly get on TV. I mean, they're kind of getting the Thunder Rosa treatment, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, but the whole thing is like, when are they here? Because they said on the show last week that they were in Japan.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they were defending the belts in Japan, and then they're defending the belts in Mexico, and they have 3 sets of championship belts.
That is the downfall. So. They do need to probably lighten the load there, and
exactly
have time to wrestle. Because I think it was England last night or 2 nights ago, or whatever. I think it was last night, but or yesterday, and they did show the UK crowd was singing along with their theme, so that was kind of cool to see, because it's not words, Greg. It's just music. So
right,
that's probably pretty cool to see. But any last call question or thing you have to throw out there for WWE side of things? Anything pressing that I might have missed that you think, we got to talk about, or anything for the good of the cause?
All right. Well, we haven't got to hear I haven't. You probably mentioned something about it, but I have not heard what your theory on the White Rabbit is. So
it's got to be Bray. That's the only thing I keep going back to. It's got to be Bray. And now I'm reading, you're hearing Extreme Rules will be the reveal. But then, of course, you hear, no, it's not going to be at a secondary pay-per-view. So who knows what the hell. But there's a lot of Bray Wyatt. And what's funny is if you look at the Extreme Rules graphic for because people do better detective work than me, Greg, but there's the graphic for Seth and Matt Riddle, and there's fireflies in the background, like way in the back. So and apparently it doesn't show up on any of the other match graphics when you look on like the previews. So there's something there. People have brought up, what if Bray Wyatt is the puppet master and you have like Karrion Kross as the White Rabbit, you have Braun Strowman as, Husky, the pig or something. Like, what if what if Bray is, with, maybe Alexa is Lily, or the doll. There was, there was that creepy doll that was with, Bray Wyatt, Abby. That's what it was, Abby, right? I think
Yeah.
it's Abby.
Yeah.
So there's weird theories out there. I ultimately think it's got to be Bray. I haven't seen much of him on social media, Greg, which always makes me wonder. Whenever your radio's silent, it does feel like there's something in the works. Is that
Well,
where
you
we're
know
going?
what?
I don't know who else. Do we get Adam Rose, the
No.
bunny? Who was I'm trying to think of who the bunny costume. I think it was, who was it? They said it was somebody, not Jason Jordan. Oh, I can't remember his name. I'd have to look it up, but they said there was somebody like Heath Slater, I think, one time played the bunny, like when they had the bunny as a character.
Uh-huh.
Who was it? Oh, he was in NXT for a while too. Not Darren. It might have been one of the primetime players. Not Titus Young, but the other. I mean,
Darren Young.
Darren Young. Yes, he played the bunny a couple times.
Uh,
So that's what I heard. But anyways, I mean, where are you at? Bray Wyatt or bust? Are they just doing it
no,
as a weird social media tactic to see if it goes anywhere?
no. Well, first of all, I think it's genius from Triple H to just introduce this element to begin with because it is very modern era.
And it's catching
Whereas,
on.
yeah, Vince would never have done something like this
Yeah.
because this type of forward-thinking technology related
QR
is
codes and
yeah, it's
whatnot.
too millennial for Vince McMahon. He probably still has no idea what's going on. So it shows the shift in the shift in leadership and the era that we're in with Triple H in charge. So it's genius because it's got us all talking about it. It's got us all guessing on who it is,
Yeah.
and that's attention that's going to lead to viewership once the White Rabbit is revealed.
Uh-huh.
So that being said, I don't believe it's Bray Wyatt. Why? Because it's too easy.
Yeah.
All of us are relating the White Rabbit to Bray Wyatt, and usually when it's something that
Predictable.
predictable, exactly,
You got to go
that's
the
not what it
opposite.
is.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I've seen a video of Bray Wyatt training, so I have no doubt he's coming back.
Yeah.
But as this whole White Rabbit thing plays out, I don't think it's him. I saw something thinking it's Karrion Kross because in Lucha Underground he was the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
So go to Tubi, watch Lucha Underground. Just saying. Um,
We're still waiting on our
and
Tubi deal. I heard
right?
the paperwork is lost in the fax.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah,
That's
they're
what
they're a little behind the
got.
times at
I
Tubi.
got to turn on my fax machine to get that paperwork here.
There we go. But Lucha Underground is still in the queue on Tubi, so
Mm-hmm.
people can go watch it because it is worth it. Um, and I've seen a lot of guesses, but it's like saying guess a number between 1 and 20. If you guess all the numbers, one of them's going to be right. So just saying it's too obvious. It's going to be something else, and then Bray is going to come after it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's Bray just because if that's the case, everybody's figured it out, and there's going to be no surprise when he debuts. It's going to
But
be
we don't
something
know what
different.
he'll come back as. I think that's the biggest thing.
Um,
Like, is he Bray Wyatt? Is he the Fiend? Is he maybe this White Rabbit is a new character? I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think that's why it could be Bray because you just don't know what direction. Now the Karrion Kross is interesting because he is getting the strap match with Drew at Extreme Rules, and that's
mhm.
the rumbling that something could happen there. So, I think one of the QR codes was shown during his promo too, if I remember right. So
Yeah.
it's been interesting. Well, then what was it? SmackDown? They just had a big sign, like some guy walking back and forth with a big sign. I forget what it said, but that was kind
Yeah, I
of
saw that.
playing into it as well. So I
And
mean,
then
like
there was a QR code on the announce
the
desk.
desk the one time. Yep.
Yeah.
So
And I opened it, or
try. Yeah.
and it showed the what they called "Who Destroyed the World" kind of thing,
Yes.
and
You did.
that whole little video clip.
Which people have shared
So
that Bray Wyatt in that sit down interview with Michael Cole one time mentioned that.
mhm.
I think when they were doing like when they were doing those, kind of sit down interviews with Michael Cole, and Bray Wyatt had mentioned that. When I think this is early days, kind of on the main roster. So, um, yeah, it's hey, like I said, it's got us talking, and we could be like a broken clock and get the time right twice a day.
Right.
that's that's what
And
we're all. That's why you said, like you said, you just keep throwing out ideas. One of them's bound to hit, right?
yeah, and we're all trying to figure out who it is, and it lets us all play detective by zapping the QR code and watching the video and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie trying to figure out who the killer is. Everybody does it, and this is just blatantly giving us the carrot we need, so to speak, to figure out who the White Rabbit is, and everybody's going to have their guess, and everybody's going to have their source on who it is and all that stuff, and I think it's going to be just something completely out of left field
Yeah.
that's going to get us, and then we're going to get Bray Wyatt coming in behind it. I think that's what's going to happen. So um, our best or closest thing to it was the countdown to the millennium. I think nobody knew what the countdown to the millennium was until it happened. So this is kind of a new version of that, I think. So
It's funny that I was talking about that with a friend at school, Greg, and some people in the crowd knew Jericho was going to be there, or they just somehow thought he was going to be there. Because if you remember watching back, there's like Jericho signs.
yeah, I saw two or three. Yeah.
I think that was my kind of, now at the moment I didn't think about it, but I think back, hindsight, I'm like, man, that was one of the first times that the internet was kind of like rumbling about it. Either Meltzer or somebody had thrown out the idea, Jericho's contract is up, so he could go anywhere. And that was one of the first times I remember like, I didn't know about the internet wrestling community, but there was people out there that were talking that up. So one other kind of last call, Greg. So speaking of watching things, I guess I could throw that out there. I watched Hocus Pocus 2. It was fine. Finished my Dahmer documentary, whatever. Monsters. I decided to watch the Monsters, Greg, but I have not finished it because I'm a little mixed on it. It feels like a long-winded episode of the Monsters, and it's just introducing Lily, Herman, and Grandpa or Joe, the Count, which is like Lily's dad, but the kids are not involved yet. But are you going to give any time of day to watching the Monsters reboot on Netflix, thanks to Rob Zombie, which a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be gory as hell. Greg, there's no gore. I'll just tell you that right now. But I like that because that's the Monsters. Like, it'd be like making the Addams Family like, oh, we're going to make it a killer. Now, I have not seen the Winnie the Pooh, though. I do need to see that, which I know they turn into a horror movie, so maybe they could still do that down the road. But are you going to give any time of day to this new Monsters reboot movie, Greg, that is trending on Netflix right now?
I am. I didn't know that it was even has it been released yet.
I didn't know
But
either, and then I saw it trending. I was like, well, I guess I got to watch it one day.
yeah, so it must have just dropped. And Rob Zombie is the reason I'm watching it because I love what Rob Zombie does when he's behind the camera.
Yeah, there is
I've
some
seen
good camera work and like weird, like those old school, when it flashes to a new scene, you might do like kind of like a Batman where like does this. You remember the old Batman that would do the spinning?
Yeah.
Well, this one has like lightning bolts between like different scenes. Not that that's a spoiler that's gonna, but I do feel like it's like a long-winded episode, and you do think there's gonna be more another movie to come out to kind of keep it going. But
Yeah, that's the thing. Rob Zombie is a little out of his mind. If you've seen Devil's Rejects and you've seen House of a Thousand Corpses and this is his Halloween reboot that he did,
yeah,
the guy is sick and twisted, and his movies are sick and twisted. And getting his hands on something like The Monsters is right in his wheelhouse.
yeah,
Uh, I saw Rob Zombie this summer,
yes,
and during his concert, they showed or maybe right before they showed a clip of um, a trailer for The Monsters right
yeah,
before he went on stage, and it got me interested in watching it. So I'm still going to watch it even if it's not bloody and gory. It's going to have the sick and twisted mind of Rob Zombie behind it. So I hope it's better than the old black and white TV version. And he said he wanted to film it in black and white, but the studio wouldn't let him. So um, if it loses some of that old school shine because of that, then it's not his fault. But I'll give it a watch and hope that it's good. Like you say, you've seen it, but you haven't made it through it all. So
yeah.
maybe it turns up at the end. I'm still holding out hope that something like that happens. But I'm gonna have to tune in and see what it's about.
Yeah, speaking of people messed up, that Evan Peters who plays Dahmer, who played an American Horror Story, Greg, man, we got to check his psyche because to play some of the characters he's played on American Horror Story and now the Dahmer series, and to think that that was written by Ryan Murphy, some of it was, who did American Horror Story. Can we check on those two guys? Because I mean, you talk about just going into some dark places. I mean, some
Yeah, I love
American
American
Horror
Horror
Story
Stories. So
has went some dark, demented places. Now,
yeah, it is.
this past incarnation where it was just like an episode, not really a story arc, that was kind of hit or miss for me. I don't know if you caught it as much, but there was some good, some bad, but yeah. Are you going
Yeah,
to watch Halloween Ends? That comes out the 14th, I believe.
yeah. I'm watching all the Halloweens.
Okay.
I've loved them all. The last one was kind of a okay because you
I
expected
mean,
that to
he's
be
got to
the
die
end.
eventually, right? Like, I just couldn't believe. I'm like, oh my god, like Michael Myers, and he's just human. He's not like a superhero, but
Right.
he just somehow he doesn't die. So I'm just like, whatever.
So it's
My
and this
prediction is that him and Lori will just die. Like, they die together. Like, I think they're just
yeah.
somehow she kills him and like takes herself, like somehow the double murder, whatever it is. But I think that's probably the best. That's probably the way it's going to go out. So
Yeah, Halloween's a Halloween staple. So I mean,
yeah,
I know it's way past its expiration date, but they're still fun. It's still in it for the gory kills, and nobody does the brutal, on-screen kills that you usually don't see in other
mm,
movies better than he does. So
yeah,
it's like the Saw movies. Every time you watch to see what the new traps look like.
yeah,
This you're watching to see what sadistically twisted way he's going to maim somebody in this one. And so it's a Halloween tradition. So
yeah.
um, it's this one's called Halloween Ends, but it's going to be rebooted by somebody else, and it's going to carry
Well,
on, I'm
hopefully
sure.
down the
So
road, not anytime. May not honestly, not even my lifetime, Greg. Like, just reboot it. Have my grandkids watch it. I'm good. Like, and then I was going to say, the Halloween Kills, like there was that hospital scene. I'm like, okay, seriously, you have all these people who want to kill him and you still can't kill him. Like, you have all these people like in the hospital ready to go after him and you
right.
still couldn't kill him. So I'm like, whatever. But yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely ready for Halloween. I got all my stuff out that's all ready to go, Greg. I did my Facebook Live video yesterday. I was going to do a couple videos where I put together, a nice little YouTube video with eerie music since Facebook is dumb and won't let me put, copyrighted music. But so I was trying to find royalty-free music that I could throw underneath. But anyways, so what would you say is the ultimate Halloween movie?
Oh, Halloween movie. I'm gonna have to go with the original Saw.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if it was released on Halloween, but or around during Halloween season.
Yeah.
But for the genre created, I know it's called, torture porn or, stuff like that. It's, more sadistic than your basic horror movie. But it was, it set a whole new uh, genre out there, and it was so masterfully done. And
Yeah.
the way that it ended, it was perfect. It was
Yeah.
so perfect, and it set the stage for all the sequels. But none of them could ever top the original.
Well,
And
that's what I thought. The first one did the suspense factor the best of it. Like,
yeah,
why were they in there? What they and then they're like the next few or whatever next seven. They're like, okay, what is the goriest death we can think of? And I'm like, that's where it kind of lost its. It's like it didn't matter about the torture aspect or the suspense factor because if you think about it, that first one wasn't as gory. Like oh, uh-oh, lost Greg.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm here.
oh, sorry. I was going to say, but that first one, like, Carrie Hughes, formerly of Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights and whatever other movies, like he has to really figure, he does the gory. Does he cut off his leg or was it the foot or leg or hand, Greg? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he cut off his foot.
Yeah, to get out. But like, now the rest, like the one had like the needles. The guy had to fall into a pile of needles, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then how about this question? Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
Yeah,
I still
perfect. But
lean towards Christmas because you have Jack Skeleton bringing Christmas to Halloween Town, but ultimately getting back to Halloween. So I don't know. I still go Christmas more than Halloween, but
yeah,
you can't go wrong with it. I love that one myself, but that's because I'll just be honest, Greg. I've never seen the first Halloween ever, like the 1980, 81 until 2 years ago. I never once watched it. So now I've been watching, like trying to catch up on all those. Like I
nice.
finally watched Scream 1 through 4. I finally watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Conjuring. Those will get you a little jump scares every once in a while, right?
Yeah, I love the
Conjuring.
Conjuring series.
Yeah.
Um, the Conjurings, the
Annabelle.
Annabelles, and I think there was
I
another set of
watched
movies that
the
spawned off of
newest
that.
Chucky with Aubrey Plaza, but even that I think, it's just a doll. Like come on. But anyways, so how about Gremlins? Do you put Gremlins in a horror movie, like in a kind of a spooky?
No,
Okay.
it's too
Is
campy.
it a Christmas movie? Because technically they received the Mowgli as a Christmas gift.
That's true. It's more. It's definitely not horror.
Nothing beats
Uh,
when the mom puts the gremlin into the blender and just turns that blender on, like and just chops up the one gremlin. So, what was it? I think that might have been the new batch, the second one. So, I thought there was talk about doing a reboot of that. Was it? I thought I've heard that once or
oof,
twice, but
I hope not.
yeah. Well, the biggest story I saw now, Greg, is American Pie. There might be a rebooting of that with the original cast. It has to be American
Hmm.
like kids now, doesn't it? Heck, some of them could be grandparents
I
at
know.
this rate. So I know we
Kids are
had
probably in their
American
40s now.
reunion. We had the first two, then we had the wedding, then we had a reunion, and then there was also the offshoot. But yeah, I would think you'd have to have like, or else you have American. Maybe they kill off one that's American funeral. They kill off. It could be like the Big Chill where they all have to come back for a funeral. Back in the 80s, that was my mom always talks about that movie, like the Big Chill, because that had everybody big at the time in it. So, anyways, but we are definitely past we're past the last call with this. So I think we will call it a night. So
Yeah, bartender's throwing us out.
this got off the rails. So all right. Well, next week, Greg, this Extreme Rules is Saturday. So we'll go live Friday night. Are you good for Friday night at some point?
Friday night sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do predictions then. And then we could go live Sunday to recap it and catch up on AEW and NXT. So, all right. So thank you for watching as always. Glad to be here, ready to talk up next week. Extreme Rules. Excitement level 1 through 5, Greg. 1 being low, 5 being high, 3.
I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah. I think there's good stuff on paper. I definitely want to see the fight pit. I was saying Liv and Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Liv could go 3-0 against Ronda. Like who would have thunk? But anyway, so we'll leave those predictions for next week. But you already know which way I'm going. So
Yep.
all right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy the evening and enjoy the next coming week.